Hello guys, this is your friend Naruto Nexus 2.0 and we are back with a new fanfic. Which is what if Naruto found out during training with Harem and the Jiraiya Part 1. And if you enjoy this fanfic then please press the like button and subscribe to my channel for more fanfic like this. And now let's start the fanfic. It was early in the training mission with Jiraiya when October 10th came around. Like usual, the pervert was out in the local nightlife trying to score with the ladies, leaving Naruto alone on his birthday for yet another year. This year he thought would have been different since he actually had friends now, but he couldn't ever catch a break having the fox demon stuck within. He finally decided that training to the extreme would be just the ticket, and after that maybe some of the leftover sake Jiraiya forgot he left in the hotel room the last time he was wasted. Well, happy birthday to me, here's to yet another lonely year. Naruto sat at the edge of a cliff next to where he was training earlier and quickly gulped down the horrible tasting fluid, feeling it burn its way down his throat. He chucked the empty bottle of sake off the cliff and stood up at the edge of it, watching it fall peacefully to its demise in silence. Some minutes later, between dehydration and the strong alcohol that was now pumping through his veins, he was feeling quite open to any thoughts that crossed his mind. That bottle sure looks peaceful down there, maybe I could have that same peace. He muttered as he swayed on drunken legs. Naruto held his arms straight out to his sides and felt the calming breeze of the autumn wind as he slowly pitched forward. The wind flowing through his hair increased, but the vertigo of his fall never reached him through the haze of the alcoholic influence, so he never even saw the ground coming to remove him of his life. Suddenly the wind died and the young blonde was finding himself once again in front of the ugly steel cage of his lifelong nemesis, the Kyuubi. Go away, you stupid fox, you have caused me so much pain and I just want it to end. He saw a flash of light emit from the cage as he fell backwards, falling into a drug-induced slumber. Naruto found himself waking to a lush forest surrounding him as he was comfortably lying upon the thick grass of the clearing he was in. He thought he was in heaven, feeling so peaceful and safe in the forest. He even started hearing soft and gentle voices being carried across the fragrant wind. Naruto-kun, are you awake? Please answer me, came a discernible soft voice full of worry. He turned to the voice and saw a young woman, about his age, with jet black hair and a chest close to rivaling Tsunade's, but strangely many times more attractive, yet he didn't know why at first. His eyes wandered down her perfectly formed hips and fell upon a neatly kept patch of hair at the junction of her relatively long slender legs. After pausing on that sight for a few seconds, he blushed and turned away, now realizing she was fully. Naruto-kun, what's wrong? Does my appearance bother you? He turned back and made extra effort to focus only on her elegant face. Yeah, it does bother me a bit. The young woman smiled at him before her form shifted to a young pink-haired woman in the same state of dress. Naruto's cheeks flushed at the seeing the tops of her but refused to look further. Is this better? She inquired. No. How about? Her form shifted again to the young long-haired blonde Kunoichi. No, came the reply quickly. Maybe you like older women. This time she shifted into a fully Anko, getting Naruto's cheeks to gain color once again. No. Then how about? This time her form shifted to a smaller girl with short midnight blue, nearly black, hair. Uncontrollably his eyes darted to her. Not too big, but not too small, mounds of flesh before they continued down, and was slightly confused as to why she had no hair where he saw some from the first form, but also found it enthralling. Do you like this F form better na Naruto-kun? She asked with a faint blush on her cheeks while prodding her fingers together. His face turned deep red and quickly turned away from that form. No, please, it isn't the form, it's the fact that you aren't wearing any clothes. He yelled out embarrassingly. A smile spread across the young woman's face at the information she found and reverted back to her original form. Okay, I have some clothes on this time. He rolled back over and looked at the elegant white kimono with silver embossed designs cut really low at the neck, showing off plenty of cleavage. As he looked further down, He coughed on the air he was breathing when he noticed there was only half of the kimono and got another eyeful of her bare lower portion before facing away. She laughed at his expression as the rest of the kimono faded into existence. I'm fully clothed now, Naruto-kun, you can look. He cautiously turned back and verified she was in full dress before trying to sit up. His attempt failed as he crashed back to the ground. The young woman was at his side instantly and helped him sit up using a tree to lean on that appeared from nowhere. He was about to thank her for her help when he noticed she was still very close to him, smiling. Her hand reached out and gently brushed a finger across his lips, and then, she kissed him softly, pulling back very slowly afterwards. Thank you, but who are you and where are we? He asked, trying to get over the feeling of shock and bliss from the unexpected affection. She backed away from him to allow a view of her all at once. Take a look at me again and figure it out for yourself, she told him in a sad tone. He looked out at her beautifully crafted silk kimono and paused a bit on her exposed cleavage. He wasn't making any progress in finding out who she was, since he was getting distracted, until he caught a glimpse of something moving behind her. Switching his gaze to the source of the movement, he counted 9 tails covered in shimmering blood-red fur tipped in just a little black, like her hair, swishing behind. He quickly looked back to her face and realized that in the midst of her long black hair stood 2 black-tipped red ears like that of a fox. So am I supposed to believe that I have a sexy fox demon inside me? She smiled widely at him and ran to sit beside him. She took his hand in hers and leaned her head on his shoulder. Well, I only wanted you to know you had a female fox sealed in you, but I guess you think I'm sexy. I like that. She cooed from her comfortable position. I'm still confused. I've met the fox before and it clearly wasn't you. He was pure evil. Well, I can guarantee you that what you met was still me, but I was still stuck in a bloodlust rage. That rage finally wore off on your 16th birthday, allowing me to return to the way I am. Just in case you're wondering, no, I am not free. I can just take my human form outside the cage, not any chakra. Naruto was pondering this information while secretly enjoying the soft hand intertwined with his. Okay, so you appear very, not evil, so why did you attack Konoha? He asked, which wiped the smile from her face. Well, just so you know, I'm close to 9,500 years old. It has easily been 5,000 years since I have enjoyed the company of someone. Since I was always fond of humans and their strong emotions on love, I decided to come to Konoha since it was to be so peaceful, and I really like the forest. I came into the village and was thrilled to watch how everyone interacted with each other, especially the couples. I continued walking through the village and found a young man by himself and thought he may be lonely like I was, so I talked to him. He seemed quite nice, so I accompanied him, at his request, outside the walls. That was when things changed. Naruto was intrigued at the fact that this powerful demon actually was able to look sad, but continued to listen to her story. He did some weird ritual and killed a small fox kit, which just showed up at the time, in front of me. I was enraged at the blatant murder of my kin, and somehow that ritual of his was meant to amplify and trap that feeling within me, so I was then out for blood, leading to the attack. Your F.A. Yondaime saw everything after my first arrival in that viewing ball and apologized to me before sealing me away in you. I'm sorry, it was my fault you were all alone. Naruto had to sift through everything. The demon that attacked the village and demanded blood in his fights was now apologizing while weeping on his shoulder. Add that to her sad face from before and he was easily convinced that she was telling the truth. He tightened his grip on her hand and looked at her teared-up face. You were lonely, a feeling I know all too well, so it wasn't your fault for trusting that guy. Do you know who he is? I'd like to return the pain he caused. Yes, Naruto-kun, and you already have an idea who he is. Cliché, I know, but Orochimaru is a perfect fall guy. So it was the hubby Tem, snake bastard, I thought as much. He let out a disappointed sigh. So what should I call you then, Kyuubi ni-chan? She immediately looked appalled at the idea. No, I do not want to be seen as your sister, anything but that. She cried out as tears made their way down her cheeks again, showing that she needed something more than a sibling relationship. She was missing the affection of a romantic one. Fine, I won't look at you like a sister, Q-chan. She smiled at the blonde before resting her head back on his shoulder. I haven't slept in 16 years, will you let me sleep on your shoulder, it feels so comfortable. She asked, already in the process of falling asleep. Only if you don't mind me sleeping as well. She let out a sound signifying she was perfectly content with that before they both fell into slumber, the feeling of loneliness gone from both. Naruto woke with a splitting headache and the horrid stench of sanitizers. Once again he was in a hospital. He hated hospitals, the horrible food, the uncaring people, and most of all very few visitors, making him feel even more alone. He seemed like he was expecting something different to wake up to inside. I guess it was all a dream. He thought sadly, remembering the peace he felt when not alone. No, Naruto-kun, it wasn't a dream, I slept very well on you, thank you. Called the vixen from his mind. So it wasn't a dream. He said out loud, getting the attention of the white-haired guy in the room. What wasn't a dream? Asked the perv. Nothing, Ero Sennin, why am I in the hospital? I found you at the bottom of a cliff near death, how the hell did you manage to fall off a cliff? Naruto's face fell upon his realization. I didn't fall. Throw a little alcohol and a whole lot of loneliness together on your birthday and people will do stupid things. Don't worry, I'll be fine. So you did do that? Sorry kid. You do know that if you died I'd never hear the end of it from Tsunade. Jiraiya informed him with a hint of anger. Gee, thanks Ero Sennin, wouldn't you be so inconvenienced by my untimely death? He retorted in obvious sarcasm. You're damn right. Naruto ignored this and carried on. So how long was I out? About 3 days. Even at your extreme healing rate you won't be able to leave here for another 2, so get some rest, I've got research to do. Naruto have off a disgusted sigh as the pervert left the room. Q-chan, how do I come back in there? He called into his mind, wanting to leave the loneliness of the empty hospital room. Just close your eyes and imagine yourself here. He did just that. He closed his eyes and let his mind free. When he opened them again he was sprawled out in the soft grass with Q's head resting on his chest. I like your imagination, Naruto-kun. She stated while snuggling deeper to him. What do you mean? He asked, not realizing he draped his arm across her shoulders. Well, the place that we are in is basically your imagination, so when you thought of being here you imagined me with you. She informed before kissing the bottom of his chin, making him fidget at the intimate contact. Q-chan, can I ask you a weird question? Sure. You can ask me anything. Naruto thought about his question, trying to word it correctly but realized he was a direct approach type of person. Quote question mark. Ero Sennin always talks about it and I just figured it was something perverted. What? You don't know? She shouted in disbelief, looking at his face. No. I think we had a class at the academy about it, but the teacher said I could skip it and still get a passing grade, so I did. That and the door always seemed to not open for the duration of classes. Afterwards all the guys and girls were acting weird around each other. You are in my head, so why didn't you know that already? He worded with his eyes closed. I could go through your memories, but I don't want to be that way. If there is something you want me to know, you should tell me yourself. Now for your answer, would you like to try it? She asked, brightening up at the idea. I'd rather not, until I know exactly what it is at least. Okay fine, but I will probably need visual aids so you can't look away from me while I teach you. She told him with a hidden grin. Sure, that's fine. The young-looking fox woman stood and walked out a ways, like she was about to teach a class. Alright, time for your lesson. Can take many forms and can be perverted if done for the wrong reasons. Usually it is an act shared between a man and a woman who love each other greatly. This is form of is commonly referred to as making love. and is the most satisfying of all the forms since all the love and affection each person has is shown through the act. Now in certain cases can be had with 2 women or 2 guys, but I'm definitely not fond of the latter and indifferent to the former, and we'll avoid that for today, okay? Getting a nod in return, she continued. Now another form of is commonly referred to as fucking. While it can be enjoyable, there usually isn't any extra emotions shared between them, and can be quite animalistic in roughness and in the pursuit of a few minutes of pleasure. It is quite rough and fast, and afterwards one or both of the participants can feel dirty for their act, leaving it to be a very hollow experience. Now there is some gray area in between where 2 people can be not fully in love and still get the benefits like they were, but in some of those cases it can turn the relationship strictly physical since their emotional connection wasn't strong enough to sustain the relationship correctly and the 2 fall to the wayside. You understand? Sure. I guess, but what is it? I get it that it is a form of loving someone, but after that I'm lost. Well, at least you grasped that part. Now I know you have seen a female, but do you really know what the difference really is between us, males and females? She smiled, watching him fidget under her gaze. No, I really only know that somehow only women can have children and have larger chests. Q just sighed and continued her lesson. Well, that saves some time. Is actually for reproducing, having children, but there is a great amount of pleasure found in it that it would be stupid to do it only when you want children. Anyways, time to describe the female body. The of a female, or their chest, are there for the purpose of feeding her baby, but outside of that they are sensitive to touch, making them a common focal point before, during, or even after, and nearly all men are attracted to them. Now the only other thing really different with women is below the waist. You know what you have down there, and you saw that females don't, and that is the main ingredient for. She rattled off like second nature. Well, it should. She's been a female for nearly 9,500 years. So you're saying my, thing is used for? Naruto asked with a blush. I thought you were kidding before, but you really don't know anything, do you? She asked with a humor-laced voice. Hey, don't make fun of me. It isn't my fault I didn't have anyone to tell me this stuff, and the kids my age never talked about it either. He defended. Sorry, Naruto-kun, I didn't mean it that way. Now then, to continue on. Yes, your thing, as you elegantly put it, is used for. Now when you see a cute girl, or a one, do you notice a change in yourself? I don't know, I never really paid attention. What? These idiots can teach a young man to kill, but they can't even teach them how to be a real man and notice something so obvious. I guess I need to bring out the visual aids. Now remember, you can't look away. She reminded with a pointed glare. Yeah, I remember. Q smiled at him and snapped her fingers, making all her clothing disappear again. Immediately Naruto blushed and looked away, but she walked up to him and pulled his face back forward. I said you couldn't look away, remember? He embarrassingly nodded and kept his eyes fixed upon her. Now you know these are. She told him while she made them bounce around for emphasis. She looked at him and was slightly surprised to immediately get exactly what she was waiting for from him so quickly, especially since he created the jutsu and should be used to seeing this. Now do you feel anything different? Not really, he replied as his eyes kept searching her body. With an exasperated sigh, she walked up to him and grabbed the large bulge that formed in his pants. This down here, you realize the difference now? She asked while holding him with light pressure, surprising the hell out of him. Yes, I do, definitely. Can you stop? She smiled at him and started to rub him gently through his pants. Why does this not feel good? She teased in a seductive voice. Yes. I mean no. I mean just stop now, okay? He yelled as he forcefully removed her hand from him. She chuckled a bit before sitting in the grass across from him, hiding herself behind her legs. Now that you know how your part feels, I can give you the last lesson. A woman has another hole that guys don't. Naruto looked surprised and waited for more information on this. She resituated herself and spread her legs open slightly, giving Naruto a perfect view of her more intimate parts, making him blush and had to force himself not to look away out of embarrassment. To have your thing has to slide into the woman here. She demonstrated by inserting one of her fingers in her opening and removing it again, slowly, making sure to over-exaggerate the action. So now that you know what is, would you like to try? I promise you'll enjoy it. She teased. Not that it isn't very intriguing, but I'll pass. From what you told me earlier, I only want to do this with someone I love wholeheartedly, or it could possibly turn me into Erosenin. He stated while turning away with a permanent blush on his face. She smiled and walked up to him and pushed him onto his back before stroking his bulge again. Are you sure? I know you would enjoy it. She coaxed with a sexy voice. He gulped audibly before taking her hand in his. Be it as it may, I don't want to do it. Can you put your clothes back on? The moment he said that, her smile faded as the clothing warped back into existence. She turned to leave but was still held by her hand. Just because I don't want to have with you doesn't mean that you have to leave. I'll be trying to figure this out for quite some time now in the future, so just stay with me for a while. She smiled once again before laying back down beside him, placing her head directly over his heart, listening to the rhythm. She placed her hand on his stomach and let it wander back down to his pants. Above the belt, Q-chan. He reminded as she reluctantly rested it back on his stomach, where she stayed until they both fell asleep. Naruto woke up and found himself still in his mindscape, but had no idea what time it was in the real world, since it all looked the same in his mind. The young, appearing, fox demon was still sleeping on his chest, and dare he think it, she looked cute with her fuzzy ears. Curiously, he brought up a hand and touched the tip of her ear and smiled, seeing it twitch. Finding it amusing, he tried again, getting the same response. He was about to touch her again but was caught quickly by her hand. Before he could apologize, she placed his hand at the base of her ear. It tickles up there, but you can rub it lower where it feels better. She told him without moving from his chest. Naruto couldn't explain exactly why, but he enjoyed running his hands through the soft silky fur, and obviously she did too, as she gave off a light growl which sounded more like a purr. Q-chan, she growled out cutely. Why did you want to have with me? He asked while still stroking her fur. Well, you see, is a very powerful thing. Once you have it, you want more. After not being with someone for over 5,000 years, I could probably screw almost anything, but there is one thing more powerful than, and that is love. I have seen everything you have gone through, and I truly want to be here for you. I know how caring and sincere you are over the years, and just the fact that you could forgive me after the pain I caused made me care for you. I care for you very deeply, and if this wasn't so, I wouldn't have offered to be with you in that capacity. Just so you know, I'll always be here, and when you come to care for me, like I do for you, my offer will always stand. For a demon that would scream for me to kill, you sure have taken a turn in attitude, but I guess you have protected me even when you wanted to kill, so I believe you. I don't know how I would want to be involved with you, but right now my loneliness is gone, and that is thanks to you. For now, let's just be friends, but before that I was wondering if you would kiss me once more. She turned her head and looked into his eyes. Do friends still make out? No. Do they hug? Yes. Do they sleep on one's shoulder if they are tired? Probably. Do friends hold hands? I think they can. Okay. She moved close to him and captured his breath as she softly pressed her lips to his and slowly worked them until she broke away, leaving him smiling and breathless. So I guess we are just friends now then, Naruto-kun. Although I am 9,500 years old, I am fully mortal now, since I die when you do and I will age as you do. You will be the last person I will ever see. Just remember that in all actuality I am now like any other woman, except I'm stuck within you, so don't count me out when you look for a girl in the future. Giving him a sweet smile, she rested her head back down on his chest. So then, since we are friends now, you won't try to sneak a feel, right? He questioned. Well, Naruto-kun, I am a fox, so there is no guaranteeing that. She showed of her cliché fox grin, showing her mischievous nature. You should probably wake up in the real world now, it should be time to go. Naruto concentrated on leaving and faded out of his mindscape with one thought on his mind. What trouble have I now found myself in now? He asked himself, fearing that the beautiful vixen won't leave him in peace for the rest of the training time with the perv. Naruto woke up in the hospital feeling more refreshed and rested than he has in ages. Unfortunately, it was time for training to commence again with the pervert. Hey brat, quit lying around, there is training to do, called the white-haired Sanin as he leisurely strolled into the room. Yeah, whatever, Ero Senin. Just out of curiosity, is there a way to manipulate my seal so Kyuubi can take a form outside of my body? If there was no chakra transferred, just consciousness, there wouldn't be a threat. I think we could learn stuff in exchange for roaming outside of my mind. Naruto offered, trying to give a reasoning. Actually there is. I'm guessing Yondaime figured this may become useful to you in the future and created such a seal to be placed over yours. If I do this, it will hurt worse than the last seal you had placed on you. The one that did in Forest of Death. Also, the seal will take about 2 years before it will be able to be used. If it is attempted to be used before the time is up, the seal will collapse, locking away any chance of the limited freedom. Jiraiya informed him, trying to talk him out of it. Okay, what is the limited freedom you speak of? The blonde wondered. Basically, the Kyuubi will have a solid shadow clone-like body and won't be able to go but 30 yards from you without dispersing. Also, there will be a side effect where the Kyuubi will be able to see and hear what you do with less effort after the seal is placed, so it can talk to you without you consciously going to him. Other than that, there are no limitations on time allowed outside. Jiraiya stated. Alright, let's do it. Naruto announced, not thinking too hard on the subject. Wait, Naruto-kun, this will hurt you. Why would you cause yourself pain? Q called from within. I'll do anything to help my friends. Besides, if you really want me to view you as another female, you will need to have a body out here. He informed her. Is this truly what you want? She asked with a solemn tone. Yes, it is, Q-chan. Alright then. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. She screamed out in his mind with glee. Jiraiya just finished the last of the markings on his hand and pressed him palm into the current seal. In a flash of light, the marks from his hands were transferred on top of the seal in a very faint color while Naruto screamed out in pain. Alright, the seal is complete. When the markings I made are the same shade of color and darkness of your seal, it will be complete. You should rest for another day here. We will continue in the morning. Once again, Jiraiya left him to do research, but Naruto was at peace and fell into a normal sleep where he dreamt peacefully. Over the next 12 months of training, Naruto became faster and stronger, like expected, while he got to know the vixen in his head better, and she taught him more things he missed out on without having parents, and even more stuff that parents definitely wouldn't want to talk about, so he never viewed her as anything close to family. After learning all about his dreams became a bit livelier as some interesting situations were being played out. While every dream was a little different from the others, one thing remained constant. The only appearances made were from Sakura, Anko, Hinata, and of course Q. They were the only ones he got a reaction from when Q was displaying them earlier. 95% of these dreams were in nature, with each one attempting to get him to have with them. FYI, it was one at a time. The dreams with Sakura would involve kissing and some touching, but without fail, every time she removed her bra, he would stop her from continuing. When Anko made it into the dreams, the same result would happen, but she at least made it down to just her panties. Dreams involving Q would seem more realistic, but she too would get stopped only after she was completely and grabbing for him. But the Hinata-based dreams were by far the most erratic. Erratic, not erotic. Sometimes she would only get to kissing him before she was turned away, but on other occasions she would make it to being completely undressed and moving in on his fully exposed lower regions before he would put a stop to it, officially getting her the furthest of the group by far. This night, 1 year and a month after Q was revealed, was another one of the Hinata dreams, but Naruto was getting irritated with all of them. Sure, they were exciting and alluring, but all your dreams can't possibly be just about While Dream Hinata was passionately kissing him, Naruto finally made the connection. All four of his night guests kissed the same, exactly the same. Dream Hinata was still kissing him as he reached up to the top of her head and to the side where he started to gently rub the area. Dream Hinata stopped kissing him and looked directly into his eyes before a purring sound escaped her lips uncontrollably. We can stop being friends now if you will allow me to have real dreams again, just keep the affection above the waist. He told her. His dream location faded away into a lush forest with a soft carpet of grass, and instead of Hinata inches from his face, there was the stunning nine-tailed demon looking at him with her ruby-red eyes. You really mean it? She asked through the purr she was still giving off from the continued attention to her furry fox ear. To answer her question, he stopped touching her ear and rolled her off of him before pinning her to the grass and capturing her soft red lips with his. All right, Fox. I don't want any passes at my equipment and I want to have my real dreams, but feel free to accompany me within them, just don't change them, also keep your clothes on. He basically ordered. Fine. She pouted, giving into his request. But you need to pet my ears and tails when we're together and I get a kiss each day. Agreed. He kissed her once more before standing up, pulling her up with him. Now how about we get some ramen? Huh, was her reply, causing Naruto to laugh. Well, since I am still sleeping I have my dreams to attend to, so I'm going to dream of eating ramen with a beautiful fox. With that statement, the landscape changed once again to a cozy little restaurant where they walked in holding hands. Another year has passed and the unorthodox relationship between the Kyuubi vixen and her 18-year-old container has certainly heated up. In this time Naruto figured that he really liked her, but he wasn't about to admit that he loved her, since the moment he does, no force in the universe could keep her off him, although a larger part of him wouldn't mind anymore. On occasion their kissing would get out of hand, but it wasn't always Q's fault. Sometimes she ended up with her top half exposed without undressing herself. Depending on your view, luckily or unluckily, Naruto managed to get things back under control, halting their progress every time. On the training portion of his time, he did gain many jutsu and even more speed and strength, and that was mostly without the help of Q. His demon didn't help him too much in training except for when accessing her chakra, since she was intent on getting in his pants whenever free time occurred. Jiraiya stayed a pervert, but what did you really expect from him? He would constantly coax Naruto into using more chakra from within than he could handle safely. It was during one of these sessions where Naruto used the four-tailed form and nearly killed the pervert, making him believe Naruto lost control, but unbeknownst to him he was in full control and couldn't figure out why he was so angry and just wanted to beat his when he talked about Hinata being fully legal and fair game for anyone in a few months, almost like there was a secret guide to new 18-year-olds. Luckily Q has kept her word on staying out of his head while doing his daily activities, well except to catch a glimpse of his equipment when bathing, otherwise he would have to deal with a pissed-off demon for being so defensive of another woman. This now brings us to the present where the student and teacher were ready to embark on their return journey, and both Naruto and Q were anxious for the day. Hey Arrow Sennin, is the seal ready? It looks like it to me. The blond muscular man of 6 feet 0 inches dressed in simple black pants and an orange t-shirt asked his sensei while revealing the seal. How many times have I told you not to call me that? Yelled the super perv. Probably as many times as I have told you to stop being a perv, Arrow Sennin. Hollered back his pupil. They both turned their backs to each other out of defiance until Q reminded her container what they were asking. So is the seal ready? Naruto quietly asked without turning to the white-haired man. Yes, it looks like it completed a few days ago. So how does it work? You need to focus the Kyuubi's chakra to the seal and perform a single kage bushin. Most of the chakra used will be absorbed by the seal, thereby reducing the chakra contained in the clone and tying it to you. He explained with his back still towards him. Alright, let's give it a try, announced the blonde as he formed the necessary hand signs. Are you sure you really want to let the demon free like that? The Kyuubi could potentially kill someone while they are sleeping. Jiraiya asked just to be sure. Trust me, there won't be a problem like that, Arrow Sennin. The jutsu was finally activated, and in a puff of smoke a huge shadowy being towered over the group, causing Jiraiya to nearly piss his pants, wondering what he has done, until the smoke cleared, revealing a girl of about 5 feet 8 inches, 18 years of age, wearing a dark blue kimono with a black dragon stitched into the silk wrapping around her. The low-cut garment showed off plenty of her bountiful chest and went well with her shoulder blade length jet black hair and red-furred fox attributes. The Sannin's eyes nearly popped out of his head as his mouth was left agape from the sight of the beautiful young woman. Everything is so alive, she squealed as she darted to every corner of the camp, inspecting every insect and other wildlife like it was her first time ever to be outside, before returning to Naruto's side, clearly bouncing with happiness. She is the Kyuubi, mumbled Jiraiya, still in shock, not because she wasn't anywhere near a bloodthirsty demon, but more so by the fact that she is, well, a she and hot. Yes, Arrow Sennin, this is the Kyuubi no Kitsune. Q-chan, meet Arrow Sennin, introduced Naruto. Hi, she chirped energetically. The pervert's eyes locked on her oversized chest as he walked up to her, and finally his gaze met her bright ruby red eyes. Well, hello beautiful, I'm sure being cooped up in this boring child has left you in need of a real man, since I know he wouldn't know what to do with a woman. He is probably gay since he doesn't like my books, so how about you and I get acquainted over, let's say, a hot bath? Immediately the white-haired man found an elegantly formed foot connecting with his crotch. Let's get this straight, moron. Naruto-kun is definitely not gay. And I know he can please a woman correctly, and I will only allow him to view my body, and when he feels ready he will be the only one to make me feel like a woman again. She sternly informed him before deeply kissing the center of her affection. Jiraiya stood up like nothing has happened and began picking up his bags. What the hell, Arrow Sennin, do you not have any balls? Asked an astonished blonde, seeing him have no pain from that brutal attack. Well, I created a jutsu that protects my goods, and to top it all off, it nearly doubles my size to a whole 6 inches. Now I bet you are jealous of my manliness, replied the perv while striking one of his crazy poses. 6 inches isn't something to be proud of, even with your jutsu you aren't even average. So basically the Sannin are a joke. One is clearly gay and stares at bodies of men, another is a big old hag that uses a jutsu to hide herself, and lastly a pervert that is hung like a squirrel. Yeah, legendary indeed, he mocked him while still dumbfounded by his idiocy. Well, oh, and you are considered average, I bet you're lying about that. Defied the man, not coming up with a good comeback. Nope, he's above average, and I look forward to seeing how it feels. Chimed in the vixen, causing Naruto to blush and Jiraiya to quickly change subjects. Well, we best be going if we want to make Konoha by noon tomorrow, he commented before heading to the trail. They made good time for the day and decided to camp out for the night in a clearing just off the road. There always just seems to be one of those. Jiraiya found himself being very jealous when he looked to his pupil, who was lying on the ground with a gorgeous female half laying upon him with her 9 fur tails wrapped around them for warmth. Maybe there is something to being involved in a lasting relationship. You never have to look for someone to join you at night, the man thought. But then again, you couldn't enjoy the pleasure of 2 women at the same time. He. The perv was able to fall asleep easily now with the thoughts of women and pervertedness on his mind. Naruto and Q woke up quite early the next morning, and that was a very good thing since Q's fur was all tangled up from sleeping in a place where there is physics, unlike a mindscape. Brushing out her fur was very time consuming, and it nearly took Naruto an hour to straighten out all 9 of the soft appendages, although she could have handled a few more days of the relaxing action. It was still early when they finished, so they made the breakfast before Naruto sat up against a tree with his vixen leaning her back on his chest from her spot between his legs while he held her from behind. I love you, Naruto-kun, she informed his while trying to get deeper into his chest. I know you do, Q-chan, was his reply as he kissed her sensitive neck. Please don't stop, she urged. He quietly obliged and continued massaging her neck with his lips while she quietly moaned and purred for him, causing an increase in intensity. Time to go, called out the voice of Jiraiya, breaking them apart. Aro Senin. Just when it started getting good, cried out the sexy fox in protest before storming up to him and shredding the notebook he was frantically writing in. She was about to kick him again until she was forcefully pulled into a warm, firm chest. Come on, Q-chan, let's get going. We'll finally be home today. Naruto held out his hand for her to hold, but she grabbed his whole arm instead and latched onto it for the remainder of the walk to the village. It was a little later in the afternoon than was planned as the large gates of Konoha formed on the horizon. You could tell Naruto was getting excited to finally be back, from the obvious signs of forcing himself to not just run up to the gates. Well, there's home, but on the downside, Q-chan, you can't disguise yourself and they will surely not welcome you, especially when they see 9 fox tails. Naruto commented sadly. I know, Naruto-kun, it was very nice being out here with you. She gave him a deep kiss, sucking his tongue into her mouth for a few seconds before releasing him with a sigh. Bring me back out soon. I love you. I know you do, I'll bring you out as soon as we're alone again. She forced a sad smile and gave him a peck on the lips before she disappeared as her consciousness returned to him. Everything worked properly, he called into his mind, hoping for no side effects of the technique. Yes, it did, love, thanks for asking. She called back. Now the two travelers continued their walk to the village, but Jiraiya's curiosity got the better of him after barely starting up walking again. So, have you done her yet? He asked with a lecherous smile, which greatly pissed of the blonde. Not like it is any of your business, but no, I have not done her, nor will I probably ever just do her. If I go that far with her, there will be much more to it than just doing it. He retorted with anger. What type of man are you? If I was in your position, I would do her over and over and over and over. Shut up, Aro Senin. The pervert was quickly treated to a fierce punch to the face, effectively silencing him for the rest of the walk to the gates. The gates appeared as they should, and after greeting the guards, Naruto took off running into the village and up the closest high building to survey the area. He looked around the entire village as saw everything was repaired from the sound invasion, but then caught the sight of Tsunade's face on the monument and had a mixture of hilarity mixed with disgust upon seeing it. I think they really should have forced her to pose with her real face instead of her fake young one. He muttered to himself. Well, if you compare her to me, she is still but a child and you seem to really like playing around with me. Yeah, well, that is different, she is just hiding her true self. Oh, and I'm not. Do you remember that I am a fox demon? I thought you wanted to be seen as a woman and not the demon, you can't have both, so pick one. Fine, I pick the one that will get you in bed with me faster. She answered while giggling. Naruto didn't respond since he just saw a flash of pink hair as decided to say hello to his old teammate. Hey Sakura, he yelled out, causing the girl to turn around before smiling wide and happily waving to him as he ran up to her. Hi Naruto, you have changed a bit, you're, like, not wearing all orange. She commented with a smile. Yeah, well, the orange was starting to hurt my eyes, so I needed a break from them. So how have you been over the past few years? He asked, slightly nervous. I've been doing great, I've learned many things about being a medic from Tsunade and have gotten much stronger. Just then a brunette sauntered up to them with nothing but a few clouds covering her private parts. Ooh, what do we have here? Asked the brunette with a sexy smile directed to Naruto. Hey, Konohamaru, I see you got that jutsu down efficiently, but you should really stop using such childish jutsu. The kid dropped the technique as Sakura admired his maturity. Why? Asked the kid. Because there is a much more perverted jutsu. Called out the blonde before getting a powered-up punch to his face. Naruto. Screamed the medic. Damn, Sakura, I was just joking. I didn't have enough time to create another one with all my training. He defended from the small crater he was lying in. Oh, sorry. She offered a hand to him, which he took, and helped him to his feet. Surprisingly, she found no actual injuries from a punch that should have crippled an ordinary man. Nah, that's fine. Well, I got to go check in with Ba-chan now. See ya, Sakura. He called before turning and started to run. Wait, I'll come with you. She yelled as she caught up with him and ran to the office. I hope you all have seen, or read, the conversation with Tsunade and the test Kakashi gave them after Naruto's return in the manga and anime, because they will all remain the same, except for the part where Jiraiya says Akatsuki is on the move. I want them to stay dormant for a little while longer so everyone can meet up sooner, so Gaara is safe for now, and he won't make an appearance. After the forming of Team Kakashi, Naruto treated Sakura to some ramen at Ichiraku's just for the reason that he promised himself he would take her out on a date a few years back and wasn't about to break a promise. After they ate, they talked a little bit about their training before they got up and went their separate ways. He wandered through the streets, still getting some newly refreshed glares, until he ended up at his old apartment. He walked into the old place, after unlocking the door, and sighed at the amount of dust that was gathered everywhere. It was going to take a long time to clean up, but fortunately he remembered to empty the refrigerator, turn it off and prop the door open so it wouldn't be a hazard area. Then he remembered, yet again, that he didn't do that, but there it was. This was something to ponder over later. He continued refreshing his mind of the apartment and ended up in his room that appeared to have not a single speck of dust anywhere and even looked to have fresh sheets on the bed, of which he never had any to begin with. Either way, it was a good thing since he was very tired, and like usual the small apartment felt lonely, but this time around he had a cure for that. He channeled chakra into the revised seal and performed the jutsu revealing the gorgeous female demon. He was slightly shocked, though, when she appeared in a pale-colored silk nightgown that was just transparent enough to see the contrast in color of her large. She twirled around once for him, all the while giggling happily at his responses. He was going to ask her why she was wearing that, but realized it didn't matter since in all actuality he brought her here just so he had someone to cuddle at night to push out the loneliness, that and she was hot. So, Naruto-kun, you ready for bed? She cooed as she stepped closer to him. Suddenly he stepped up to her and planted his lips to hers, surprising her greatly since she could only count on one hand the times he was the aggressor in intimate touching. She usually had to do something to start it. You want to go further? She asked after breaking free from the kiss, feeling very heated at the moment. Not really, I think we should just sleep. With a disappointed nod she followed him to the bed where she snuggled up next to him, once again laying her head above his heart. After getting settled in, she pushed her hand under the waist of his pants and gripped his rock-hard shaft. Above the waist. Naruto grunted out as a reminder. Reluctantly she let go and placed the hand on his stomach. I love you, Naruto-kun. Q woke the next morning to the pleasant feeling of having her ears rubbed and decided to lie still for a while longer, but her tail started swishing happily, giving away her consciousness. So you think you could get away with pretending to be sleeping while I rubbed your ears? Naruto whispered to her. Well, actually no, but it was worth a try. She replied with a disappointed sigh. Good. She expected him to stop, but he continued on pleasing her fuzzy fox ears, causing her to fall into her growling purr for the next 10 minutes. To her dismay he stopped and got up to do the usual morning stuff while she just laid in bed for a few minutes before heading out into the living room, kitchen and started cleaning. A few minutes later, Naruto returned and saw her cleaning and walked up to stop her. Q-chan, stop cleaning, you are a guest, there isn't a need for you to do that. He chided her. That is where you are wrong, Naruto-kun. I live here now with you, so it is just as much my place as it is yours. Fine, but I'm helping. With a quick hand sign, 20 Naruto clones came into existence and ran through the apartment at blinding speeds, leaving the place spotless in less than 2 minutes. There, now let's just sit for a while. She smiled happily at him as he sat down on the old couch, and she immediately sat on his lap facing him before taking him in a kiss. After the kiss, she just hugged him tightly with her head in the crook of his neck and fell asleep smiling. After letting her sleep a while, he decided it was time to hit the town and see what has changed and maybe find some more of the old acquaintances. He gently carried her to his bed and set her down, while she slept through all of it. Before going, he kissed her forehead and left out the door. Like was expected, Naruto only got a good 30 yards away from his apartment when he felt the consciousness of the vixen return to him. That wasn't very nice, Naruto-kun. I was expecting to wake up in your arms and I find myself waking up back in here. She pouted in an irritated voice. Sorry, Q-chan, but I couldn't bring myself to wake you since you were sleeping so nicely, and I didn't know you would wake up when you returned to me. Fine, I'll let you off the hook this time, but I want to see you before I go back in the future. She informed him. Alright, you got it. After finishing his conversation with his inner demon, Naruto came upon a strange-looking guy. He was covered head to toe and all you could see were sunglasses peeking out from between his hood and high collar. Although he couldn't tell who it was, Naruto felt he knew him from somewhere. I'm taking most of this encounter from the manga and will be the last shred of unoriginal content. Please, not this group, anyone but them, I don't need the competition now. Thought Q after realizing who it was standing there. It's been a while, Naruto. Stated the guy. Huh, who are you? Was his reply, still trying to figure out where he has seen him before. It has been a long time since we've seen each other, but you should at least recognize the face of a comrade, because it is hurtful if you don't, mentioned the cloaked guy. Huh, wait, could you be Shino? Naruto asked once Shino's strange speech pattern jogged his memory. Finally, you recognize me. Well, it could be a little easier if I could actually see something other than sunglasses to identify you. Hollered the blonde shinobi. Just then a slight thundering, sounding like a stampede, was heard as a huge white dog jumped into the area with his partner riding on top. Is that you, Kiba? He asked in shock at the size of his dog. The rider got down off of the beast in his mostly all-leather attire. Ha! I thought it was you from that smell. Kiba replied. Hey, what is that supposed to mean? Shouted Naruto in defense. Nothing. It's just that you smell like, well, you. Oh, thanks, I guess, but what have you been feeding Akamaru? He's huge. He then commented. Guess I never noticed. Suddenly a quiet squeak was heard in the direction of a nearby fence, catching the blonde's attention. Please, not now. I'm not ready to meet him yet. I heard he was back, but I wasn't intending on seeing him so soon. What do I do? What do I say? Worried Hinata as she was trembling at the thought of meeting her crush again after so many years. Oh God, why couldn't he have missed them, especially her? Q asked herself, afraid of what might happen. Naruto quickly rounded the corner and was face to face with the dark-haired girl. Her nearly black hair flowed down to her mid-back over the hood of her thin jacket, which ended a little past the waist of her baggy capri-style pants. What are you doing hiding over here, Hinata? He asked while only inches away from her small 5 feet 3 inches frame. Immediately she started falling over after turning bright red with beads of sweat flowing down her face. Before she made contact with the ground, Naruto caught her in his arms. Why does she always do that around Naruto? Kiba wondered out loud. I can't believe he recognized you and Hinata right away, aw man. Uncharacteristically whined Shino, completely ignoring Kiba's question. Hey guys, do you have a mission or something? Naruto asked while still holding Hinata above the ground. Nah, we were just meeting up for a little sparring today. You can leave her with us and we'll take care of her. Kiba informed in his boisterous voice while the blonde looked at the light body before him. Well, if it's all same to you, I'll just wait for her to wake up. You two can go do your sparring. The blonde offered. Yeah, sure. Thanks, Naruto. See ya. Kiba then jumped onto Akamaru and sped off while Shino just seemed to disappear, leaving Hinata alone in Naruto's arms. He stood up and carried her over to the large tree and sat in the grass with her still nestled in his arms. He looked at her porcelain-like face before wiping a bit of the sweat off her glistening skin. What are you doing, Naruto-kun? Q asked in an accusing tone. I don't know, Q-chan, but something is just different when I look at her. You're drawn to her, aren't you? Yes, very. I know you don't like it, but some of the attraction is probably your fault since you took her form so many times when manipulating my dreams. You're wrong, Naruto-kun. I just used the attraction you already felt against you in your dreams. Remember that you would push her away sometimes after just barely kissing, but the next time you would nearly let her do what she wanted. You wanted her but also didn't want to push her, so you always had those feelings. So, are you okay with me liking her? He asked while growing very red, remembering his dreams as he looked at the petite girl. No, I am not, but I can deal with it for a while. Just try to find out if there is something else there other than physical attraction. So you are basically telling me to go out with her. I don't think I want two girlfriends. You finally called me your girlfriend. I'm so happy, Naruto-kun. But yes, I'm saying take her out and have fun like a young man should and maybe even kiss her, but I didn't say anything about making her your girlfriend. She informed him sternly. Alright, I guess I'll see if she wants to, but will you still want to come out when we're alone? Of course I want to still come out. She won't be able to keep you company at night, will she? No, I guess she won't, but keep your hands above the waist or I just might think about it, he warned her in a teasing manner. It was at this time that Hinata was slowly gaining consciousness and opened her eyes and saw the object of her affection looking straight at her. Hi, was all he got out before she turned red like a tomato and fainted again. Another few minutes passed until she became alert again. Hinata, then she was out once more, but there was a smile growing on her flushed face. Well, I'm not leaving here until you stay conscious enough to talk to me, so hurry up. As if on cue, she woke and stared at him with her pale eyes that could show many emotions at a moment's notice. He continued to watch her look at every inch of him without any trace of redness upon her face, so he thought it was safe to talk. How are you feeling, Hinata-chan? En na naru ti takuan. She drawled out in a long stutter when realizing fully that she wasn't imagining him and he was actually holding her in his arms, and succumbed to the waiting darkness while in a serious blush. This is kind of fun seeing her faint like this, but do you think she is sick or something? No, she isn't sick, she is quite stricken with you. She told him with a tint of anger. Really? Is that why she always turned red and fainted around me? And I just thought she was weird. I take it then that the cute little finger prodding thing she does is a nervous habit, which is why I always see her doing it. There was no answer, so he just figured he was right and shrugged it off. A few more times of Hinata waking and fainting passed until a point where she stayed conscious, albeit barely, to hold a small conversation. So really, how have you been? Has your family been getting better? Naruto asked caringly. A little. Neji isn't too bad, anym more, but father still pushes me too hard to become something I'm not. She stuttered out, still bright red. Okay, did you make chunin? He asked, trying to keep the conversation going since she would always stop. Yes, you are the only one that is still a genin, Neji is jonin. She informed him slowly, making sure to not show weakness and stutter. Well, that really sucks. I'm still a genin. Naruto said with a bad taste in his mouth. I'm sure you'll make it next time. She told him in a comforting way. Thanks, Hinata. You were always so nice to me. Can I give you something? IG guess. What is it? She asked in slight worry from the look on his face. A present for cleaning my room. The sheets you used had the Hyuga symbol printed on the tag. He leaned forward and gave her a very quick peck on the lips, causing her to resemble a cranberry and go limp in his arms with a huge smile on her face. Naruto chuckled. He was having great fun making her faint like that and couldn't wait to see what it took next time. He looked her over once more and noticed her sandals looked like they didn't really fit anymore. Her feet seemed squished and uncomfortable in them, so he took them off, setting them free. After his once-over of her, He came to the conclusion that everything about her was cute and very alluring, much more so than the younger form he would see in his dreams. She started to stir once more and he decided he might just surprise her. He brought his face within an inch of her and felt her breath on his face. Her eyelids parted slightly before he felt her tiny arms wrap around his neck and pull him forward on top of her as she mashed her lips into his. Her lips massaged his, making him forget everything, and slowly parted his lips. Taking that as an invitation, Hinata slipped her tongue past his lips and explored him, drawing in the taste of his mouth. Naruto-kun, Q stated in a gentle but irritated voice, but he carried on making out with the little Hyuga. Naruto, she screamed in his head, causing him to pull away from Hinata's lips, leaving a small trail of saliva from the very wet kiss. I said maybe kiss her, not make out with her. Sorry Q-chan, well I got carried away, okay? No, it isn't okay, just try to keep everything a little less passionate. She replied angrily. I'll try. Was that real? Hinata asked, still unsure since she has dreamed about that for a while. Yes it was, but I think it was a little out of the blue, though. He mentioned, trying to shrug it off. Oh, she stated with a downcast attitude, but never once tried to leave the spot with Naruto. So I guess since you got over your fainting spells, I can ask you a question. Would you like to go out with me, on a date? She immediately smiled frantically, nodding, and brought him into a very gentle hug, pressing her chest up against his, inadvertently showing that there was a bit more flesh under her jacket than she let on. So how big are they? Q asked in an attempt to tease him, since she couldn't get out and smack the both of them. Much smaller than yours, but still probably a big handful. I'd say about a C, he replied, just to make her jealous, even though he wasn't lying one bit. Hinata let him out of the hug and looked at her bare feet while wiggling her toes. UT took my shoes off? She asked, still looking at her toes. Yeah, they looked uncomfortable. Why are they so small? He inquired. They aren't really small, just tight. I keep them tighter than usual to hold my ankle better for the agile movements I do. She responded, still with her head down. I'll tell you what, in my travels I saw many different types of shoes. One of them should give you the stability you need and the comfort you deserve. I should be able to make a hinge of it at a local store so they can create you a pair. The blonde suggested with a smile. UD don't need to be bother, it doesn't hurt that be bad. She responded quietly. Nonsense, footwear shouldn't hurt. If you are in pain, even in the slightest bit, it can upset your fighting. That will be the first stop we make today, and I won't allow you to convince me otherwise. What do you mean today? She wondered. Well, I was thinking that since you didn't have a mission today and I was free, that we'd cash in that date I asked you about right now. He answered, still smiling. That's okay, UD don't have to. Hinata looked up to see his smiling face. Why you don't want to? No, it's just that, well her cheeks flushed embarrassingly as she looked at her toes again while not finishing her statement. Naruto ignored this as well, as he too looked to her feet that clearly had reddened areas from the tight straps. Are you sure your feet don't hurt? They look painful to me. He commented as he reached out and touched the surprisingly soft, irritated skin, causing her to fidget embarrassingly at his touch. Don't touch them please. She begged as she kept squirming in his lap. Why, there is nothing wrong with your feet, they are cute like you, he assured with a smile. What, you are really think I'm CC cute? She asked, initially not noticing he started to lightly massage her foot. No, stop Naruto-kun. He ignored her protests and kept massaging her feet as she started squirming more. She screamed out pleasurably before covering her mouth to keep from drawing attention. Her eyes were closed as she was writhing under his touch while her breathing got quicker and shallower each moment. Naruto-kun, stop, screamed Q, causing him to pause. Why, it was just a little massage. Nothing harmful or perverted. Not for her. Just look at her. She was getting off on the massage similar to directly touching her womanly parts. Oh, oh. Naruto finally caught exactly what she was saying and was slightly embarrassed. I'm sorry, Hinata-chan, I should have stopped when you asked. He relented. And no, my fault. You didn't know. She stuttered between breaths. It felt good, just not appropriate right and now. Still, I should have listened. You have never said anything not worth listening to. Deciding to change the subject quickly, he posed another question. So are you ready to go out now? I need to go home first, it's just a few blocks away, you can come with me. She quickly put her shoes on and ran all the way to her house with Naruto right behind. Since the Hyuga manor was fashioned very much like an apartment complex, Hinata let Naruto wait for her outside the door to her room, since it wasn't forbidden to do so. The moment she closed and locked the door, she wasted no time in stripping off all her clothes, including her very damp undergarment, before lying down on her bed and started touching herself vigorously as the thought of her crush being only feet away, while she was doing this, turned her on more. Naruto, surprisingly, sat patiently waiting for her return when he heard small muffled moan-like sounds before a louder muffled scream come from her room. Q-chan, do you think she is alright? He asked, being as dense as ever. I think she is doing just fine, just leave her be for a little while longer. She told him, knowing full well that Hinata was relieving the tension built up from earlier. He continued to wait through a few more muffled sounds followed by some shuffling before she came out, about 45 minutes after going in, wearing pants like before, only tighter, and a lavender short-sleeved t-shirt sporting the Hyuga flame symbol. Her face contained a satisfied smile and a deep blush from making him wait while she took care of her urges. I'm ready to go, Naruto-kun. She stuttered out while still smiling sweetly with a fading blush. Going where? Demanded Hiyashi as he quickly intercepted the two as they started to venture out. Father. My apologies, Hyuga-sama. I was just taking your daughter out for a walk, lunch and to find some new clothing. I've been gone so long that I needed someone to help me, so I decided to ask Hinata-chan. Naruto explained to the cold Hyuga. Hinata-chan, is it now? My first opinion is that I don't like you one bit, replied the stern clan head. Well, you are her father, so you aren't supposed to like any guy that takes her out. Naruto wittingly replied. Yes, you are correct, I wouldn't, but you are the first to even try. If you touch her inappropriately or get her back here after 10 o'clock, I will hunt you down. Threatened Hiyashi. As it should be. Now if you please, we will be on our way. Surprisingly, Hiyashi stepped back and let the two continue on without any more hassle. They were out in the streets of Konoha quickly afterwards and were walking along, nearly a foot apart, silently until Naruto had to break the silence since he couldn't watch her fiddling anymore. Well, I thought your father wasn't too bad. I was sure he was going to make me fight him or something. He joked, trying to lighten the mood. Why yeah, it West was quite strange of him. You know, Hinata-chan, your stutter is kind of cute, but it gets hard to understand you sometimes. I think we need to work on your confidence. We don't need to change you any, but I'd like to understand what you are saying easier. Why yeah. He smiled at her and swiped a hand away from her habitual action and laced his fingers with hers, causing her to blush uncontrollably with a wide smile. She didn't pay any attention where he was silently taking her. She just kept her eyes on either his face or their joined hands, wondering how the hell this happened without her confessing any feelings for him. Her thoughts were cancelled quickly when he pulled her into a custom footwear shop owned by an older couple that moved to Konoha 3 years ago, and were struggling to make a name for themselves, so they were happy to see customers. Well, hello you two, what can I do for you? Asked the 40-year-old man, wearing a standard leather work apron, stepping from around his empty workbench looking absolutely giddy over having customers. I have a project I wish you to attempt. Hinata-chan needs a shoe that looks good but still supports her ankles for her unique movements, and she has found nothing that suits her other than to tighten her footwear to the point that it hurts her feet. So I have a design in mind that should be perfect. He offered up. Really now, the sandal she is wearing is the best in this village for support unless you went with a gaudy combat boot. So then, tell me what this design of yours is. Asked the man, clearly intrigued. I'll do you one better. He quickly created a clone and had it transform into the object in his mind. When it appeared, Hinata immediately loved the look. It was kind of simple in design but would do everything he promised. Is that actually functioning? Hinata asked, looking at it. Yep, and it is about your size, you can try it on if you want. She smiled at him and immediately took the shoe and slipped in on and immediately fell in love with the comfort and support. See, simply put, it is a twist on your current sandal, but it has a taller ankle strap and more straps around the foot holding it in place instead of just the one. Plus, it is still missing the toe so you can still show of your cute little toes. Basically a fisherman sandal. I'm sure they have something like that already, but pretend they don't for this story. And they feel so good. She replied while watching her toes as she wiggled them. Sir, if you can make shoes like this, I will buy 12. She told him, causing his eyes to nearly fall out of his head while frantically nodding. So simple of a design, how could no one have made them yet? Of course, my lady, I'll get started right away. Immediately the man turned and ran to his workbench, but then realized the model boot was still on her foot and had to go back. My apologies, but I need the model shoe to make them, and if I may, I would like to give you 20% of all profits if I can sell this design in my shop exclusively. Sure, that design exists in a country far away from here, so it shouldn't be a problem, but you have to call it something weird like the Hina sandal, or something. The name made Hinata blush as the man agreed. After giving him his savings account number with the sandal, and instructing him that he would only have an hour with it before it disappeared, they left the store and moved onward to a clothing store to buy some clothes, since his were all damaged from training. Hinata helped him pick out various items in the store and blushed many times when he would display some of the clothing for her, of course irritating Q, who was watching his every movement. He ended up with a few changes of clothes that might last a week with his training, but was quite happy with himself since he even managed to get Hinata to display a two-piece swimsuit in front of him, showing off her perfect petite form and decent-sized chest, completely pissing off the vixen within, but she remained silent. The day continued pleasantly through lunch, after dropping off his purchases, followed by a nice walk through the park where Hinata got him to cuddle with her a bit before realizing it was getting late in the day and found another place for an evening meal. They found themselves talking more smoothly than before over the meal, which seemed to end the day too quickly for the small Hyuga. They wandered through town a little afterwards, while holding hands, before they decided to call it a night. Naruto escorted her back to the main door of the Hyuga manor where they had to part. So, Hinata-chan, I had a fun time today. So did I, Naruto-kun, it was a day I will always remember. She said, clearly making Naruto smile. Did you know that you managed to not stutter once in that sentence? When you talk clearly I can tell you have a very pretty voice. She of course blushed. Thank you, Naruto-kun, it was all because of you. She said almost inaudibly as she started leaning forward slightly. Big ol' cliché time. Hinata, he couldn't finish as his body went of its own accord and met her halfway, pressing their lips together in a very tender kiss and holding it there for at least 5 seconds. I need to ask you one more thing, Hinata-chan, why did you, make out with me earlier? She let out a squeak from not remembering that, and immediately her blush darkened. I thought it was a dream. She shyly remarked. Oh, so you have dreamt about me? He asked. Yes, a lot. She told him while almost fainting from the secret being shed. Really? He said as he turned away from her and started to walk away, causing her heart to fall. Suddenly he turned back around with a blush on his own face. Well, I've had lots with you also. He mentioned before a light wave and he was gone. Hinata was ecstatic over the revelation that he may care for her as she does him. She opened the large door to the Hyuga manor and entered with a large smile on her face. The smile never even faltered when she found herself standing in the ominous presence of her father. She ran up to him and trapped him in a warm embrace, shocking him. "Thank you, father. I had a wonderful time with him. Could he take me out again?" Hiyashi was flabbergasted. Never once has he seen his daughter not look away or not even stutter once in his presence, and it was all because of a single day spent with the village outcast. It is very hard to write her stuttering all the time, so I sped that up as well. "Hinata, you can see him freely. You have my blessing to see where your heart leads you. He has done more for your character in a single day than I have ever accomplished with you, just don't get that involved too soon." She blushed madly knowing what his statement meant and quickly disappeared from his presence into her room. She quickly shut the door before doing a half twirl on the ball of her foot before flopping backwards onto her bed with her arms out wide, letting out a very happy sigh in the process. "I can't believe it. Father is letting me see him freely and actually didn't forbid me from having with him in the future. I have to be the luckiest girl alive." She closed her eyes and before she knew it, she was out. Naruto walked into his apartment in a good mood from the pleasant day of activities. As soon as he entered, he heard the familiar voice in his head calling to him, but in a not so nice way. "Naruto, we need to talk, now." Feeling frightened by her tone, he quickly did the jutsu, and there she was dressed in her standard white and silver kimono looking at him furiously. "What do you need to talk about, Q-chan?" he asked in a slight cringe. "Oh, don't you Q-chan me, you know exactly what we need to talk about." She forcefully grabbed him and pushed him backwards onto the bed before she straddled him and sat on his stomach, pinning his arms to his sides with her legs. "Now, I really think that we need to talk about this Hinata situation before it gets out of control. You seem to be getting too involved already." "What makes you say that?" he nervously asked while attempting to avoid her gaze. "Well, all in the course of one day, you have made out with her, just kissed her twice, nearly gave her an orgasm in the middle of the village, basically seen her in her bra and panties, referred to her as cute 4 times, and even cuddled with her twice. Now tell me if that sounds like you're getting too involved." "Well, just in case you forgot, she stole that makeout session from me thinking it was a dream. The one kiss was probably the quickest peck on the lips humanly possible. The second kiss was very sweet, so I'll give you that. I didn't know her feet did that to her. She is cute, she looked very good in that swimsuit I bought her, and I only cuddled her once in the park, the other time was just holding her in my lap." Although his recollection of events was supposed to calm her down, he made a few mistakes that actually made it quite worse. "So then, you actually bought her that swimsuit, and you liked kissing her more than me?" she asked, causing Naruto's danger sense to go off loudly. Swimsuit yes, kissing same but different," he told her truthfully since he doesn't lie to someone who could personally verify it. "Well then, Naruto," she started, still leaving off the suffix, "do you want to leave me for her after only a day and ruin an over 2-year relationship?" Her question got his attention as he allowed his gaze to meet hers. "No, Q-chan, that isn't it. I feel like I am a part of 2 totally different lives where you are my girlfriend in one and she is starting to grow into one in the other. It is really confusing, but I know that I still really want you as my girlfriend," he told her exasperatedly. "Alright, Naruto-kun, this is how it is going to be for now. As you know, I love you and will always love you, so I will always be yours. I will let you see her, and if you so desire you can actually have her as a girlfriend, but you can't go too far with her. You will still be kissing me and touching me as you please, and I will continue to sleep in your bed with you," she informed him before continuing the rules being laid out. "If the point where the relationship turns very serious comes to be, you will need to tell her about the Kyuubi, me being sealed inside you, and the fact that you are romantically involved with her, me. At that time she will probably slap you and leave your life forever, crushing both of your hearts." Are you sure you wish to chance that? She asked, hoping he would change his mind. What if she actually stays with me after I tell her, then what? He wondered, trying to see how far she thought. I don't really know how to answer that. We will have to decide what to do if it ever comes to that, but there are way too many ifs between here and there to get to that point. So what will you do? She demanded. I really don't know. I know that I want to be with you and I also have a pull to be with her. I really don't want to hurt her or you, but I think that maybe it would hurt her more if I were to go back to ignoring her after getting her out of her shell than if she learned I had you sealed inside me. I know you really want me to say that I'll leave her, but I just can't. I hope you can understand. She could see that the idea of losing either of them was tearing him apart worse than anything, so she got off of him and let him sit up as she sat next to him on the edge of the bed. She looked at the pain in his eyes again before pulling his head to rest on her as she stroked his back caringly. I do understand. Love is powerful and mysterious and I don't want you to be hurt by it. At least if she rejects you, you still will have me, but I don't know how you are going to do this, but I will accept it since you being happy makes me happy. Really? You'll be accepting of this? He asked, bringing himself up from her chest to look in her sparkling eyes. Only as long as you give me equal affection, I will do my best to accept this, she told him with a cheery smile. I guess that can be arranged. He leaned closer to her and connected his lips to hers before falling backwards, pulling her down on top of him as they continued to kiss passionately. His hands wandered her firm body, holding her closer to him. He moved away from her tender lips and started to suckle her neck flesh while she moaned out pleasurably at the feel of his lips caressing her sensitive neck before he pushed her over on her back and slowly pulled down the neck of her kimono, revealing her large. He moved down to them and stated to draw circles around her darker flesh, moving ever more closely to her perked nipples. She started to wiggle around and started to pant before she screamed out for more. He then went to each nipple and drew it into his mouth, lightly sucking on it before moving up and kissing her slowly and tenderly on the lips. He then stopped everything before wrapping his arms around her, drawing her in tight. Why did you stop, Naruto-kun? It was just getting exciting. Complained the vixen, feeling the need to be relieved. Well, you said that I need to show you the same attention I give to Hinata-chan, so to be fair on both parts, one can't do more to you either. You got a makeout session, a nice tender kiss, touching, bringing you a great amount of excitement while I saw you in less than a swimsuit, and now I'm cuddling you. Now you're even, he informed her with a smirk. Fine. Be mean, but I guess I'll need to do what Hinata did to cope with getting so excited. His expression changed to intrigue at that statement. What do you mean, Q-chan? She just smiled as she brought her hand down between her legs and started to massage herself, being sure to hide the view from the blonde still cuddling her. Remember the sounds from her room? She asked as she sped up the movements of her fingers on her womanly parts. She slowly started getting closer to her release as her breathing got irregular, as moans and muffled screams reminded the blonde of earlier that day before she screamed out one last time before sighing and relaxing on the bed. Well, she did what I just did, she got herself off. She gave the same satisfied smile as Hinata had, only minus the huge blush, but Naruto wasn't immune to the blushing now, knowing that two girls pleasured themselves while he was but 10 feet, or less, away from them, and he wasn't even allowed to watch either. Sorry, Q-chan, once I figure out everything I will help you with that, just be patient. He assured. I am patient, love. If you would have done that to my tits 2 years ago, I would have forcefully jumped you. All that I really ask is that you just hold me now. She rolled her still topless body over and lay on his chest, like usual, as he lightly kissed her cheek before strengthening his hold on her and drifted to sleep. The next morning, Q woke up early and started breakfast for them, effectively waking up Naruto with the pleasant aroma. He groggily walked out of his room and was glad to see she put her clothing back on and headed to the bathroom to get cleaned up. When he passed the voluptuous demon, he paused and kissed her cheek before continuing on to the shower. After he was fully clean, he returned just as his girlfriend was placing the last plate of prepared food upon the table. They sat quietly and ate their breakfast while watching each other, and when they finished, Naruto got up and took their plates to the sink. When he returned, he caught Q by surprise with a long kiss and broke apart with a smile. "Your lips still taste of butter from the toast," he told her while licking his lips. "I got you something when we were out yesterday." He moved to retrieve his gift, but felt the urge for another taste of her buttery mouth. He moved in and engulfed her lips before moving much deeper into her mouth, where he seemingly tasted every corner of her before stopping, leaving her speechless and breathless. He finally retrieved the object and gave it to the beauty. "You got me a brush?" she asked, not exactly seeing how this was a present. "Yes, a brush, and a very good one at that. I know you don't need it since you will be returning to me shortly, but I was wondering if you would like me to brush your fur." She stood up and walked to the run-down couch and sat in it sideways before holding up the brush. "Well, are you coming to brush me or not?" she asked sweetly. He had her brushed smooth within 30 minutes, but continued to brush the soft velvety fur of her tails for longer than that. He was still brushing her when there was a knock at the door, followed by a sweet voice. "Naruto-kun, are you awake yet?" she called out. Quietly, Naruto finished the last few strokes of the brushing before coming around to Q's front. "Sorry, we have to cut this short." He gave her one more kiss to say goodbye, and then she was gone. He stuffed the brush under the couch quickly to hide the hair that was clearly not his before opening the door for the little Hyuga. "Hi, Hinata-chan, come in, I was just lounging around for a while." He shut the door after she entered and flopped backwards on the couch and moved his feet so his knees were in the air, giving her room to sit as well. She paused for a moment before deciding to embrace her newfound boldness. She surprised the blonde by pushing his knees apart and crawling between them to lay completely on top of his chest with her face buried in his neck. Her boldness excited him, and he was hoping she didn't notice this excitement as she giggled in his ear before kissing his cheek. "You're really affectionate this morning, Hinata-chan," he commented, trying to draw attention away from his awkward position. "Is that a problem?" she asked sweetly. "No, I think I like it." "I know you do," she stated with a huge blush, causing him to match her color, realizing what she meant. "Sorry," he apologized. "Don't be, I find it flattering." She kissed him softly on the lips before getting off of him. She paused for a good 5 seconds afterwards as she stared at his crotch with a bright smile. "Be careful, Naruto-kun, she wants in your pants about as bad as I do," Q warned from within. "I know, Q-chan, you'll be there to stop me if I let her, right?" he teased. "Stop that, just remember, I will be watching you. I know. You are one girlfriend that I can never cheat on without permission." Hinata wandered around the apartment for a little while he was talking with Q, and noticed 2 plates sitting in the sink. She thought it strange to have 2 dirty breakfast plates when you live alone, but shrugged it off while filing it for later thought. She returned to the couch and grasped Naruto's hand and lightly tugged. "Come on, Naruto-kun, stop being lazy and let's go walk or something," she begged. He smiled at her and tugged back, causing her to flop on his chest with her face landing mere inches from his. He closed the gap and formed his lips to the contours of her small pink ones as they began to kiss. She moved her tongue across his smooth lips, demanding entrance, which he allowed right away. Immediately she wandered his mouth with her wet organ, tasting every inch before trying to hold onto his tongue with hers and bring it back with hers. Finally he managed to understand what she wanted and moved past her lips into the small cavern of her mouth. After his exploration inside her, they played with each other's tongues until retreating to their own as they broke the kiss, but followed up immediately with a slow, soft one. "Now, I know you didn't think it was a dream this time, so is there a reason for that one?" Naruto asked, clearly happy from the affection. Yes, I think you taste good. If you didn't like it, you could have stopped," she informed him. "Right, stop kissing such a cute person as you. Not a chance. You don't have to enjoy it that much," chimed the voice in his head. "Oh shush, You got yours at breakfast with your tasty buttery lips. The thought of that again made him lick his lips. So then, what would you like to do, Hinata-chan? He asked the young woman silently lying on him. Stay like this forever, she replied dreamily. After realizing what she said, she bolted upright with a gasp and a bright red color on her cheeks. She made to bolt away from him under the sudden embarrassment but found she was held fast by muscular arms. Don't be embarrassed, I know that feeling. Let's just go out for a walk. I haven't seen Asuma's team yet, so we can just wander the streets until we find them. He kissed her on the cheek, melting away all her fears. Oh, okay, she replied shakily. He released her from his hold and readied himself for the walk. They were out the door and halfway down the street when Naruto noticed Hinata was still wearing the ultra-tight sandals and still wondered how she managed to walk on all her missions in them. Hey, let's stop in with the old man and see how he's coming with your shoes. He saw a happy nod from Hinata and guided her back to the store. They entered the relatively busy store and saw the man happily talking to some customers about his products. I thought he wasn't very busy, he whispered to her. At that moment the old man smiled wide and waved for them to come closer. Welcome back. I spent all night making a few pair and I have to tell you I've got orders backed up for weeks. At this rate I'm going to need an assistant. The man pulled the pair out from under the bench and handed them to Hinata, who accepted them with a huge smile. Immediately she sat on the nearby bench and placed them on her feet, engrossed in their comfort. She smiled as she wiggled her toes in her new shoes and turned to the man with the smile still on. They are perfect, how much do I owe you? He just smiled back at her. Your first pair is on the house. I'm getting so much business after I put a pair in the shop window that it will pay for itself in no time, so please take them. Thank you, she told him before standing up and happily pulling Naruto out the door with her newfound comfort. They walked down the road, hand in hand, and found themselves outside a small building where Shikamaru was running through some paperwork for the next Chunin exam. Hey Shikamaru, Naruto yelled to the lazy Chunin. Why do you have to be so loud? Man, you are so troublesome, was his reply. Whatever Shikamaru. Right then a large guy walked up to them carrying a huge bag of chips in a small lunchbox. Hey, what's up, Naruto? Choji then noticed his hand was connected to Hinata's. Hey, what's with Hinata? The idiot probably just found out she liked him since, like, forever. Women, they're just too much trouble. Cut in the lazy Chunin. Speaking of women, your mother said you forgot your lunch, so here. Choji threw him the box which he caught amidst grumbling. Hey, Hinata-chan is not too much trouble, Naruto defended. But balancing Hinata-chan and Q-chan without Hinata knowing is, he thought to himself. I agree, Naruto-kun, are you sure you don't just want to forget her? She asked with some hope. Nice try, Q-chan. But I think I can agree with you that I let myself go in over my head. I couldn't get away from her even if I tried. His quick thinking time was put on hold when Hinata tugged him away from the mumbling Chunin. Don't mind Shikamaru much, Naruto-kun. He probably doesn't have a girlfriend, the Hyuga commented. No, I just think he picked a very troublesome one, Naruto stated before breaking into laughter. What do you mean, Naruto-kun? She asked, trying to figure out what he was implying. Well, there seemed to be a very large fan kept in that office, and there is only one person that uses a fan that I know of. He informed with a smile. Come to think of it, that fan has been around him a lot. So you think he is involved with Tamari? Hinata asked before being startled from behind. You bet he is, she is the only one he won't be lazy around, even I can't get him to do work anymore. Shouted Ino as she tried to jump between them only to find her path was blocked by intertwined fingers of the two. I see you finally got to him, Hinata, way to go, congratulated the skinny blonde. So how many knew you liked me, Hinata-chan? Naruto asked with some annoyance. Oh, I'd say about the whole village, even her father knew about it. Hinata was red again since she found out Hiyashi knew the whole time and was probably just experimenting with letting them go out. Great. I'm always the last to know. Mumbled the blonde shinobi. Yes, you are. Now I'll leave you two lovebirds alone. I have some stuff to take care of at the flower shop. See ya. She took off and was gone in no time, leaving the two alone with them, each sporting a red color on their faces. Well, now what should we do? Voiced Naruto, seeing as how all the members of Team Asuma have been reacquainted. Well, how about we? Hinata was cut off when Kiba, on top of Akamaru, rushed to her. Hey Hinata, I've been looking for you. We just got called in on a mission to escort two people to another village. It's A rank. He yelled, ignoring Naruto. Well, I guess that messes up my day. How long will the mission be? Hinata asked with no sign of a stutter, mystifying the dog user. A week, maybe more. What, a whole week without Naruto-kun? This sucks. She replied, making Naruto smile and Kiba, well, stumped with some anger. I'm sorry Naruto-kun, I want to spend more time with you, but I must be going. She wiggled out of his hand before wrapping her arms around his neck, drawing him near to her and nearly sucked the life out of him for about 2 minutes in a deep and enjoyable kiss. Kiba looked on silently as he watched, with interest, at his two friends really getting into their kissing. All of this made him start getting jealous and wished to find his own girl to experience something like that with. Hinata finally pulled away from her blonde and stared into his eyes. Sorry, I need to go, she said before taking another short kiss. One for the road, she commented before climbing onto Akamaru and took off out of sight. I'm in trouble, Q-chan, he stated in his thoughts as he watched them go. What do you mean? She asked, knowing full well what he was thinking and feeling. I know I'm falling for her, hard, and there is no stopping it. I already miss her. This feeling I never have with you since you can't leave me. But I know that I need to tell her about you because there is only a small wall that she has to cross before I lose control. You have one too, but I won't tell you what it is to break it. I think the feeling you have is a side effect of love. As many times as I want you to tell me those 3 words, I know she is going to hear them before me. Just as you expected, my tampering with your dreams have accelerated your feelings for her once you realized you could be with her. Don't worry, Q-chan. You already know how I feel about you, and you will hear those words soon, but she may hear them first. Since I really do love her, I just hope she can accept this. This bites. Naruto finished his thoughts and carried on his way and stumbled upon Kakashi again. Immediately Kakashi set him up on training, with some guy named Yamato, with his element for the time Hinata was gone, thinking he could use the extra training for when Akatsuki shows up. It was a week of training and depression for Naruto, as he truly found what it was like to be without someone that grew special to him faster than someone was ever supposed to. Since he knew, he felt that he never wanted to be away from her. Even with his vixen, it was depressing with her missing. He decided upon a sneaky way to get something for her so Q didn't know about it, since she would definitely not be happy. He wrote out a note to Ino one morning, while he was in the bathroom, so he was without Q, for her to buy something and have it packaged up with a note inside. He had her attach the words, "Tell Hinata everything," to the outside to remind him what it was for, and then instructed Ino to go into his mind and remove the memory of what he wrote, under the pretense that it was training for a new technique she was trying so Q wouldn't bother her. Ino silently protested the note, but realized what he had written for Ino to see was true for all ninja and supported his decision, and knew, without a doubt, that Hinata would love the gift, but didn't know why all the secrecy. She took the large amount of money he offered her for the purchase of said item and went into his head and removed the memory. An hour later, Ino found him training with Kakashi and interrupted them. Hey Naruto, I got something for you. Ino yelled out, causing the built blonde to stop and look at her confused. Why would you get me anything? He asked, while Ino just laughed it off and gave him the small box. He took the box and read the message attached and started to wonder exactly what he asked her to do, since only he would know what everything was. I suppose I should thank you then? He asked in a baffled tone. Nope. You already did that in advance. Congratulations. She smiled at his retarded look of confusion before hugging him and took off. What the hell was that all about? Don't you even think about going after another woman? Hollered his inner fox. I have no idea what that was about, Q-chan, but all she did was remind me that I was going to tell Hinata everything when she got back. I will never go after another. One would have been enough, but I can't control these circumstances. After his thoughts, he continued on with his exhausting training. Another half of a week passed and Hinata hasn't returned yet, making him worry to no end. Although Q loved the extra attention she got, everything just wasn't as good. She likes quality over quantity. It seemed as though when Naruto was depressed, it would influence their time, resulting in Q to actually look forward to Hinata's return about as much as he did. Luckily for both of them, Team Kurenai returned the moment Naruto was out for his afternoon laps around the village. Hinata-chan, you're back. He shouted happily when he saw her, until he saw tears in the Hyuga's eyes as she ran to him and tackled him to the ground and kissing him like it was her only form of living. She let him up after the kiss and cried into his chest, saying a bunch of incoherent sentences. Shish, it's okay, Hinata-chan. Calm down some, I can't understand anything you're saying. He was rubbing her back as he looked to Kurenai for an explanation. She only gave a nod, saying that Hinata didn't need to go with them for the debriefing so he could comfort her. Slowly the hiccuping, from the bawling Hyuga, lessened and she was able to at least make an understandable sentences. Now tell me what is wrong. Did something bad happen on your mission? Why, yes and no. Our mission was considered a success, but someone still died. He died of a sickness no one knew he had, so there wasn't anything we could have done to prevent it. She explained between her lessening sobs. So that is why you are crying. You lost a person on a mission. After he placed his question, her tears started flowing again as she shook her head to the negative. And no, people die all the time on missions, it was just the situation he was in. Naruto was confused why something as simple as a situational issue would bring her to this level of sadness, but accepted it. Well then, tell me what happened. He propped himself up on the village wall and sat with Hinata in his lap, grasping tightly to his neck like he was going to leave and never come back. The people we were escorting were in love and were on their way to her father's mansion to get married. We were hired to protect the young woman from enemies of her father when they were traveling to her home. They loved each other deeply but never went too far in their intimacy since they wanted to wait until they were married to get to that. You mean? He interrupted. She blushed and nodded her head before continuing. Yes, they never had, and then he died. She was so broken-hearted and cried constantly. She always said that she wished she would have had with him just so she would know how it felt and be brought closer to him, but after he died she swore she would never know what it would be like since she made a vow never to love again. We continued the mission and brought her to her father's house where he thanked us and took the body of her fiancé. The day after, we woke up to commotion in the halls, and found out, she hung herself. Hinata burst into tears again and wailed loudly into his already tear-soaked shirt. I'm sorry that happened, it is very tragic, but there are just some things in life that we can't control, he told her, trying to make her feel better. I know that, Naruto-kun, that is why I'm crying. She told him as she buried her face into his neck again. So you're crying because you can't control when things go bad in life? Kind of, but I am really crying because that same thing could happen to me. I'll love you, Naruto-kun, more than I could ever imagine. The day we had together tore open the wall I put up, keeping me from loving you this deeply until you broke down that wall by accepting me and acknowledging me as a woman, and mostly because you kissed me. I am crying because I know that if you were taken away from me now, I would surely die. She barely got all that out before she was bawling again. Her cries got more powerful as he remained silent, watching the sorrow, fear, and even love flow out of her to the point where he couldn't take it anymore. Sorry, Q-chan. I know, go ahead. It is times like these that I know I love you, Naruto-kun. I just hope she doesn't hurt you and herself. Naruto left his thoughts and turned to the small bundle weeping in his arms. Gently grasping her soft chin, he lifted her face so her teary eyes met his and softly pushed his lips to hers. He tasted the salty tears upon her lips along with the taste that was her own and felt the love and sorrow she had poured into him, effectively stopping her tears. He pulled away from her and looked at her now smiling face. Hinata-chan, I never saw you as a possible companion all through academy because I was stuck on chasing Sakura just to get noticed. Then during the Chunin exams I noticed you as a ninja, and one worth fighting to protect. By the final round of the Chunin exam I finally saw you as a friend when you helped me gain my confidence back to fight Neji. He paused for a breath before continuing. At that point I left to train, not thinking of those I left behind, but on my 16th birthday I remembered you and saw you as a real girl, a cute and pretty one, that hid herself from everyone. Then when I returned here I saw you all grown up and I realized that I could never see you as a ninja, a friend, or even a pretty girl. He paused his speech and saw the pain in her eyes, the rejection that he has seen way too much of, and continued on. I will never see you as any of those things because the one moment I felt completely at peace with everything was when I kissed you. That was the moment that I knew there was no possibility of me ever liking you, because I skipped that and went straight to love. Hinata-chan, I want you to know that I love you more than I thought I could. Hinata was brimming with joy and crushed her lips to him, basking in his love as she pulled the air from his body in a kiss like no other before pulling back and stared in his eyes. I know it is really early in our relationship, but I feel like I know every part of you and I love you so much. We are ninja and as such we have short lifespans, so would you, make love to me? She asked with a huge blush covering every inch of her face. She saw his confused and surprised face and just had to smile through the blush. Huh? He asked, trying to make sure he didn't hear her wrong. Naruto-kun, I want you to make love to me, to have with me. I don't care when or where, it could be right here and now. Just please let me feel the love you have run through me as we enjoy each other's bodies while making love. Emphasizing her point, she rubbed her chest against him and slid her hand to his waist where he immediately grabbed her wrist, stopping her progression. Hinata-chan, not here and not now. Even though we are outside the village walls, this place is not where I would want it to take place. Also, I have something I really need to tell you before we go that far, but first I have something for you. Naruto reached into his pocket and pulled out a small box wrapped in silver metallic paper with a lavender bow tied around it and gave the present to her. Now you can't open that box until I have told you my secret that I will tell you tomorrow evening. Do you promise to not open it until then? She looked at the small box for a few moments before grabbing it with a smile. I promise, Naruto-kun. Good. Then for the rest of the day, let's just sit here and talk to enjoy each other's company. Naruto pushed off the wall and lied down in the grass as Hinata followed him down and lied upon his chest while they talked about the emotions in their lives until they both fell off to sleep.